this computer. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you made it to the Zoom session on our final assignment, which is the mock interviews. So technically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be either being interviewed or you're going to be interviewing somebody else as a part of the final assignment, and it's going to be done live in a Zoom session. So there'll be multiple days and times that you can choose from as to when you can do it. So I'll try and pick at least an evening, a daytime, an evening, and a weekend for you to be able to sign up to be interviewed. You only need to sign up for one, but to be interviewed or to interview somebody else. And the idea here is really just to kind of put into practice what you've learned in the course with your resume, your cover letter, your job search, as well as interviewing skills and what your book teaches on that. In fact, there's a whole chapter on the job search, resume, cover letter, and interviewing skills. I think there's actually two chapters. So either way, this is your chance to kind of work that out. And to practice a little bit. If you've never been in an interview, it's going to be a really good experience for you. If you've already been on a few interviews, it'll also be a good experience, but it'll also prepare you. I know that in this course, I've taught I've done this assignment in probably maybe 6 or 7 courses now. And there's always been a few students that were interviewed that actually were trying to get the job that they were practicing the interview for. And so it gave them kind of a trial run. And then they went and did the actual interview weeks later. Or even there's been a few that already had the interview and then they redid the interview in the class and they found it to be a very similar experience to a real interview. So it's one of the SLOs for this course is to teach you or to go over how to conduct yourself in an interview, and the best way to do it is to just practice it. And so that's what this assignment is all about. And the only reason I call it a bigger, a major assignment is because it's worth a lot of points, and it's in addition to, the regular weekly quizzes and the homeworks or discussion posts, whatever we do. So I think we're doing homework or no, discussion post in this class. So you have a discussion post and then you have a quiz. And then for this last module, you have your resume, your cover letter, your job search, which is the discussion post, and then you have the major assignment being the mock interview. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and I'm going to go ahead and go over the assignment instructions for this assignment, and then I'll show you how to sign up. I'll show you the forms that we're going to be using, etc. So you should be seeing my modules page. I'm going to back up to the home page of our course in Canvas, and I'm going to go ahead and select Module 3, which brings you into the final module of the course. And the link is not working, so I'm going to go to modules over here. I need to fix that link. And if you scroll down, it'll bring you to the assignment explanation. So right here, this is in this week's module, week 13, you have the mock interview assignment explanation. So I'm going to select that. And here it's basically explaining. Now there is a video of me. I'm going to replace this video with the one I'm doing right now, but this is a video of me explaining the assignment during the last session. So you choose to either be interviewed. Again, if you have a job interview coming up and you're going to actually apply for one of the jobs that you found, you might want to consider being interviewed. If not, then you can choose to just be an interviewer, but they both have various responsibilities that I want to go over with you. So choose one or the other and then select a day and time that works in your schedule to conduct a live Zoom session and join in on the interview. There'll probably not be 9. I'm going to probably do 6 different days and times. This is a smaller class. When I do this at Cerritos College, I have 3 classes in there, so I have to make a lot more times. I'll probably do 5 or 6 different days and times starting next week. And basically you would log in during that time and we would conduct the interview, live in Zoom. Each interview needs to have 4 people to be doing, ideally is to have, well, at least one person being interviewed for every 4 people doing the interviewing. So I need 4 people to interview one person, and that's kind of how I lay it out. So depending on what you choose to do, I need to try and get that many. Now, there's been a few times where I've had somebody to be interviewed and only had 2 students. So in that case, I will participate. I'll play a role in it. I've had a time where there was 6 people to interview and only one person to be interviewed, and even then we kind of made it work. So the ideal scenario, though, is four people interviewing one person. And so if you choose to be interviewed, that's the first section down here, based on so it's all based on your discussion post assignment, which is the discussion post assignment is to find three jobs on three different job sites. These are jobs that you feel like you qualify for or will qualify for once you get your degree. And you pick those three jobs, and then the assignment there is to write three reasons why you feel you're qualified to take that job. And then you're going to write your resume and cover letter on one of those jobs. So you pick one and then you draft your resume. Now, resumes should be job specific, cover letters definitely should be job specific. They should not be generic. So you're basically taking the information out of the job posting that you found and you're incorporating some of that information in your resume and in your cover letter. You're making sure your resume is targeted towards that job. You're making sure the cover letter mentions that job and is also targeted towards the experience and education and things they're looking for the job. So you must tailor your resume and cover letter to that job. And then I mentioned here, your job is to do that, and then you also prepare your answers to pretty much what questions you might anticipate in an interview. Tell us about yourself. Why should we hire you instead of somebody else? Kind of thinking through many of the questions, and your book gives a great list of different questions that will probably be asked. You should always have three or four success stories ready and available to share. And these are things that you can sprinkle through your answers. They ask a question and it relates to one of your success stories. You want to be able to share that in your interview so it makes it personable. It also shows that you've accomplished some things. You also should have an elevator speech ready. That's basically it's really the answer to the first question that's often asked, and that is tell me about yourself or tell us about your education and experience, how it's prepared you for this job. And when they ask you to tell them about yourselves, it's not a personal question like, well, I'm married, I have three kids, it's I'm into baseball. It's tell me about yourself, meaning tell me about your job experience and your education. And so that's really your elevator speech, which is like a 60-second, 30 to 60, 90-second explanation of who you are, your education, your experience, etc. And then you also should research the company that you applied to make sure that you understand their history, their background, their mission statement, their core values. And you definitely, definitely, definitely want to express and share some of what you've learned about the company in your interview. That's what's really going to set you apart from others. When you get asked the question, why should we hire you and not somebody else that has equal skills and abilities, we always like to resort to things like, well, I'm a quick learner, I'm really easy to get along with, or etc. Well, that's great, but anyone can answer those kind of questions. What you want to share in that answer is because I read your mission statement, I read your core values, I believe in what your company is all about, and what you believe, I believe, what you're passionate about, I'm passionate about. That's going to make you stand out above everybody else who has equal experience and education. So research the company so you know what they're about and how that relates to you or not. And then have a copy of your resume and references available at your interview. References do not belong on a resume, they belong on a separate sheet that's brought to an interview. And of course, you should always, always, always ask a question at the end of the interview, and it should be something relevant to something you've learned online in reviewing the company or something that comes up during the interview. But make sure you ask a question, show that you're interested by inquiring, and then you should come prepared for the interview and treat it as if it were a real interview. So dress the part if you have to. And that's your job as the person being interviewed. So all those things relate to that role that you're going to play. If you choose to be an interviewer, then you have some other things, different things to do to prepare. As I mentioned here before the interview, you're going to want to review the job description, resume, and cover letter for the person that you're going to be interviewing. And by the way, you may end up interviewing more than one person. So they're going to be, by the way, if you're being interviewed, you must upload your resume and your cover letter and the job posting that you chose to write them for to the assignment when you sign up. The day and time you sign up, you can click reply, you can click the little icon to paperclip it, and you can attach all your documents. That way, when the students who are going to interview you go to that same page to sign up to interview you, they can download those documents and have a chance to review them. So your job then as an interviewer is to review those documents and to prepare two unique questions for each person to be interviewed based on their job description, resume, and cover letter. And I say here, one generic question will be provided to you by the professor on the day of the interview. So the generic questions are, again, things like tell us about yourself, or why should we hire you and not somebody else, or why do you want to work here, or give us your strengths and weaknesses. So those are all questions that you should expect, but you as the interviewer need to come up with two unique questions for each person based off of their documents. So that's your job in preparing for the interview, and then be prepared to ask each of those questions at the interview. And then you dress the part, bring a notepad, take notes, ask follow-up questions if you need to. And then you're going to be grading the interviewees' responses to your questions. And I'm going to show you the rubric on that. During the interview, there'll be two rounds of questioning where each interviewer will ask one question per round to the person being interviewed. One of the questions, again, will be provided by the professor. The other question or two is the ones that you've created. And the reason I have you create two is that way you don't duplicate another question that another student may ask. Feel free to ask any follow-up questions or clarifying questions as needed but only when it's your turn. So basically, it'll be four of you. So one of you will ask the first question, then the second of you will ask the second question, the third will ask the third question, the fourth will ask the fourth question, then we'll start at the top again, and the first person will ask the fifth question, etc., all the way down to where you've asked both of the questions that you have to ask. And then the person being interviewed will be answering those questions, and you'll be taking notes and grading them on their responses to the questions that are being asked. As far as a rough grading rubric, and I'm going to show you the actual rubric sheet that you'll use here in a minute. You'll basically be grading them on confidence, like how prepared were they? Did they play the part? Did they bring the needed items that they should have? Did they come across as professional, confident, personable, etc.? Do they seem like they could fit the role that they're applying for? Number two is clarity. Did they answer the questions being asked? Were their answers clear and articulate and detailed enough? Sometimes students are very brief with their answers and they don't give any details. So, not too many details, but you certainly should give some depth to your answers, not quick answers. Or did they get off on a rabbit trail when the questions were and answers were they relevant to the job and valuable to know the answer to? And then thirdly would be content. Did they actually answer the questions that demonstrate their ability to do the job that they're being applying for? Did they demonstrate that they would be a good fit? Would you hire them? Would you want to work with them and for them? And then congeniality, were they friendly, gracious, kind, caring, engaged, positive, helpful, enthusiastic, all those things. Um, so this is kind of a rough rubric of what you're going to be grading them on. And it's the same for the person being interviewed as it is for the persons doing the interviewing. And I will be grading the persons doing the interviewing, and there's a rubric for that as well. So this is the assignment. And as far as scheduling a day or time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just move to modules page again. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. Now, these are not active yet, but they will be once I set the proper date and time. But if you notice on your screen, there is a mock interview, different days and times. I have them scheduled for next week and then the following week. So it'll be the next 2 weeks. And then we'll be doing these. So these are not the proper days and times. Obviously, they're still not set up. But I'm going to go ahead and just assume that this is the one that I want to do here, Saturday, 12/2. I'm going to go ahead and select that at 10 a.m. So what I'm saying is I'm willing and available to be interviewed or to interview somebody else on that day at that time. And then what you'll do is here's the people to be interviewed, here's the interviewers. And basically, to sign up for one of the above, you need to click reply below and then type in the box that opens up that I want to be interviewed or I want to interview somebody else. So if I select reply, it opens up a box and I just type in here, I want to interview someone else. All right. That's all I need to do if I'm going to interview someone else. Now, if I want to be interviewed, you say, I want to be interviewed. And you would select this attach feature right here, and you would attach your resume and cover letter and job description all right here. Once you've attached those documents, you can click reply, and it will show up at the bottom down here. And it says Eric Doucette wants to be interviewed. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through here every couple of days leading up into this date, and I'm going to move the names of the people who chose to be interviewed up here and the people who chose to be an interviewer right here, and I'll type their names in so that way if you come back, you should see your name in the list. And what that means is you're scheduled to now be a part of this particular interview. And the link for the interview is right here. So all you need to do is on the day and time of the day that you signed up, select that folder again, mock interview Saturday at that time and day, and then just select this Zoom link, and that's going to bring you into where we will all meet. And then once we're all in there, I'll let everybody in. I'll go over some ground rules, and then we'll start the interview, complete the interview, etc. And then you will actually fill out your rubrics before you exit the interview. And the reason I do that is because if I let you leave without you submitting it, I have to chase it down now. I've unfortunately learned the hard way that, oh yeah, just send it to me right away. And then I only get one out of seven. And then I'm sending emails to all the other seven saying, please send me your grading rubric. So what I do now is I keep the interview going until everybody has attached their rubric to the Zoom session. Uh, it's called the chat. In the chat, you can actually add documents. So anyway, so that's pretty much how that goes. As you notice right now, we're in a Zoom session. So if I go to chat and I come down to chat, I don't know if you can see me opening my chat or not, but if you click it, you'll see that there is, it says, who do you want to send a message to? It says everyone. I can type my message. I can say, here is the grading rubric. And so when we start the meeting, I'll actually attach the grading rubric. And if I pick the little icon at the bottom that says file, I can go and navigate to my computer and I can find, I'm going to do it right now just so you can see it. I can find the grading rubric and I can upload it. And if you go to chat right now, you will see the mock interview grading rubric. So you should be able to download it during our session and you'll have it, you can print it out or have it on your computer and type in your answers as you're grading. But again, if you interview somebody, you're actually also grading them on their quality of their interview, the answers to your questions, etc. And if you are an interviewer, then I'm grading you for your questions and your attitude and your conduct, etc. So, all right, before I show you the rubrics, then, is there any questions about the assignment?
Quick question. So we are able to choose if we wanted to be interviewer or to be interviewed. When again? I
Anytime.
forgot.
Well, as soon as I open the right now, that none of those days and times have been set.
Oh, okay.
So once I do, those folders will become active. Like you won't see them in yours right now. You only see them in mine because I'm the instructor. So when they become active, you will see just like it says right here. It says mock interview Saturday 12 to at 10 a.m.
Hmm.
Be a folder that has the day and time, just like that. It says mock interview day and time. And if that works for you, then just select that folder and it'll look just like you're seeing on the screen right now.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll just click reply down here, sign up, either be interviewed or to interview somebody else. And that basically that's you signing up for that day and time.
Oh, okay. So that'll be available after the Zoom call.
Yeah, I gotta go in and pick the days and times
Oh,
here.
okay.
But
Perfect.
they'll be starting next week.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
I'll have it up before the end of the week, but the actual interviews will be starting next week. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
I'll
you.
Okay,
probably
Professor,
start.
I
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
have a question.
Sure.
Okay. So if we choose to be the interviewer, there's going to be like four of us or five of us
Yes.
per like okay, and so we're
Ideally four.
individually okay, so we're
Ideally four of you will be doing the interviewing. Yes.
Okay, so it's to one particular person, or is it going to be how many people do we interview?
Well, technically and ideally one, but it could be two or more depending on how many sign up to be interviewed at that day and time. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
You
you
might sign
be
up for this first date and there's three people to be interviewed and there's only three of you to do the interviewing. Then what I'll probably do is ask some of the interview people who want to be interviewed to act as interviewers so that we can have four, and then we'll end up rotating around till we interview all of them. Does that make sense?
okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Typically it ends up being one or two. So yeah. And ideally four interviewees. Sometimes I'll send an email out saying, "Hey, I need a couple more people to interview on this day. Please sign up." And sometimes I'll get a few to join in at the last minute. So anyway, and sometimes I will give you extra credit if you end up doing a lot. So let's just say you end up being an interviewer and you end up having four people to interview, and it's like, that's not really, if in that case, if I have enough interviewers, I'll break it into two different interviews. But if not, and you end up interviewing a bunch of people, then I may give you extra credit for doing that. All right, any other questions? So first thing I'll just say is be watching your modules for these folders to open up and be available for you to sign up for a day and time. And again, there'll probably be 5 or 6 times that you can choose from. You only need to pick one. So just pick one that works for you and what you want to be doing during that Zoom session, and that's the first step. Second thing, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go ahead and show you the rubrics. So here is, I'll just show everyone I get first. So this is the rubric for the interviewee. So this is what I will be grading all of you on. So if you're an interviewee, in other words, you're the one doing the interviewing. So wait, I'm sorry, bad. I got it wrong. This is for you. This is the one you'll be filling out if you choose to interview somebody. So if you're being interviewed, you don't fill out anything unless I enlist you to help me with interviewing. Other than that, if you're being interviewed, then all you need to do is be interviewed. You don't have to fill anything out. However, if you're interviewing somebody, you have to complete this form at the end of the interview. So you'd put the name of the person being interviewed. So let's just say it was me. I'm the person being interviewed. And you put Eric Doucette, and then you would type in there the job title. So the first question that I'll ask them before we start the interview is remind us again of what the job was that you applied for. And then they'll give us the job title, and we'll type that into our paper. And then you're grading them on those actually 5 things. Confidence, again, I went over that. Clarity, did they answer the questions? Were they clear and articulate? Confidence is how did they present themselves? Content is did they stick to the answers that were being questions? Answers, did they stick their answers to the questions being asked, or did they get off on rabbit trails, etc.? And then congeniality, how did they conduct themselves? Were they friendly? Were they kind? Were they gracious? Were they professional? All those things. But the one other one you have is a conclusion, and that is what is your overall impression of the candidate, and would you hire them for the position if they applied? So you're basically making a decision whether or not you would hire this person. Okay. So you're giving them a scale of 1 to 20 on all of those, one being, 0 to 20, zero being not at all, and 20 being definitely. So you grade them on all 5 of those categories, and then you put a total down here at the bottom. And I do have a paragraph at the end that you need to complete, and that is why did you give them the answer for the last question that you did? So if you said, I definitely would hire them, then you need to give me at least one good reason why. Like, what was it about their interview that made you go, yes, I would hire them? Or if you gave them a really low score, why did you give them a low score and tell me why? So that way, I will give this feedback anonymously to the person being interviewed. I'll say, your interviewer's comments were, and I'll list them out. And so it's a chance for them to get actual feedback from you without actually getting feedback from you. So, and then you put your total score down the bottom here. So if it ends up being 100, you put 100. If it's 85, you put 85. If it's 60, you put 60. And then I'm going to take all 4 of the interviewers' sheets, and I'm going to do an average of their score. Does that make sense? So that's how you will grade the person being interviewed. So this is the form that you will have if you are the person doing the interviewing. Now, if you're being interviewed, that would be the other form. And I'm sorry, if you're, yeah, so you're going to be filling out that form if you're interviewing somebody, and then I'm going to be filling out this form for you if you're an interviewer. So let's see, is this the one I want? Nope, that's not the one I want. Sorry. They look exactly the same on the screen. And that is not it either. Okay, I had it here. Thought I had it here. Let's see. Okay. Huh. Hold on a second. I think thought I opened both of them. Let me close one of these. That way I won't get confused. Can I close it? How do I close it?
Professor, I have a question
Sure.
actually about this assignment.
Yes, go ahead.
So when we like say, hey, we're gonna be the ones interviewed or be the interviewer, once you already have the list of those people, are we gonna be given the documents for whatever job they're coming up with?
Yes. Yes, that's their job. So if they're gonna be interviewed,
Mm-hmm.
as I went over, their responsibility is to upload their resume and their cover letter and all that stuff. So that way, in the same place that you sign up, you should see, Eric Doucette, I want to be interviewed, and then next below my name, you should see their resume, their cover letter, and their job description, and you can download all those forms and read them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So and on top of that, with I noticed that you said there's like gonna be four people to be interviewed, right?
No, four people doing the interviewing and to every one person being interviewed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, you four people typically today's interviews are done in groups like that. So the groups are, they call them group interviews, right? So those are pretty typical in today's workforce. So you don't typically anymore get interviewed by one person. Back when I used, looking to get a job, years ago, you used to go see one person and they'd make the decision. And that changed. And pretty much now, every interview you go on is going to be with either a group of people or subsequent people, one on one. So, and so I like to just kind of cut to the chase and give you a group interview. So technically, you should have four people interviewing you if you're going to be interviewed. And that's pretty much what you'll find in the industry today when you go get a job. So, I mean, any of you online now, have you been recently on an interview? Anybody? And if you
No.
have, yeah, so if you go get an interview today, chances are you're going to end up meeting with more than one person at the time. So let me see. So weird. Oh, there we go. Here we go. All right, I got it now. Sorry about that. I picked the wrong document. So this is the form that I will be filling out for each of you doing the interviewing. So if you're being interviewed again, you're being graded by the four people interviewing you. But if you're interviewing somebody, then I grade you, and this is how I'm grading you. So and when I do this in a live class, I actually have other students do this, but because we're doing it in Zoom, I have to do it. But I'll put your name in here. I'll put the person that you're interviewing's name, and I'll put the name of the person. Well, actually, this is supposed to be my name. So my name, name of person being interviewed, and then the name of person doing the interviewing. So if you're interviewing somebody, then let's just say it's Samaya Caldwell. Your name would go here, and then you're interviewing Brian. Brian's name would go here, and then my name would go at the top. And then I'm grading you on these four things. Again, as the interviewer, you're interviewing somebody. How confident were you when you asked your questions? Did you play the part? Did you come across as professional, confident, and personable? Clarity, were your questions clear? That's a big one. If you ask really muddied or closed-ended questions that don't allow the person to, really give a detailed answer, but a yes and no answer, then that's the wrong kind of question. You need to ask an open-ended question that allows the person to do a lot of speaking and explaining it rather than just a yes or no. So, like you could say, well, my question is, would you be willing to work overtime? Yeah, okay, it's over. There's no more to it. So that's not a good question. You need to be more open-ended. And again, your book has a lot of great sample questions, but you're going to be creating them based off of the resume and cover letter. Either way, though, so you're being graded on your confidence, your clarity, the content. So was the question relevant to the job? I mean, it may be clear, but was it relevant to the job that they're applying for? Does it even matter whether that's true or not, or whatever it might be? So that's what I'll be grading you on. And then finally, congeniality. Were you friendly, gracious, kind? Did you introduce yourself before you started asking questions? Those kinds of things are really ways in which you can demonstrate cordiality or congeniality to your person being interviewed. Now, one thing is true when you're being interviewed in a group interview, oftentimes they're given the guidelines that you're not supposed to make any expression to the answers that are being given. You ask your question and then you just stoically sit there and stare at them and take notes. And that's common. Like you go to an interview, they tell them don't give them any feedback, don't say good answer, don't nod your head, and just sit there, listen to their response, take notes. That's all you need to do. And they do that because they don't want to give anyone false hope. They also don't want to, do something that would become discriminatory or whatever else later on. So they just keep it very stoic and straight faced and no comments. And so that's really the way that I kind of like you to approach it is you can be friendly and kind and stuff and smile and nod, but don't give them feedback. Don't say, wow, that was a really great answer. I can't see why we wouldn't hire you. Things like that, because you don't know yet. You don't know who the other candidates are for the position. So you can be friendly and enthusiastic, but and you should definitely introduce yourself. Hi, my name's Eric Doucette. I'm the director of marketing here at this company, and that kind of thing. And you can make a lot of stuff up, by the way. In fact, at the end of the interview, the person that's being interviewed should ask a question. I made that clear earlier. So you have to answer the question. Now you might say, "Well, I don't know the answer." Well, then make it up. Just make it up. It's a mock interview, right? So they might say something like, "Tell me what the corporate culture is like at this company." That might be the person's question to you as the interviewing panel, and you'll all look at each other and go, I don't know, I don't work there, because you don't. So you make it up. Say, well, we're all really friendly. We're like a family. We all get along. We really have each other's backs. There's no striving or backbiting, whatever. So you're making it up, right? And that's fine. You can do that because you're playing the role of the interviewer. So this is what you'll be graded on, and I will complete these forms and put your total score and my overall impression of the interviewer. Now, if I have any comments, I will put them in there. It is a little challenging because I'm interviewing all four of you at the same time. And sometimes when I have multiple interviews going on, like let's just say we have three people to be interviewed and we have eight people to interview, to do the interviewing, I might break you into two Zoom breakout rooms and then I'm bouncing back and forth so I don't hear every question. So it's a little more challenging to grade eight people at the same time. But either way, this is the form that I will use to grade you as you're doing the interviewing. And again, if you're being interviewed, you're graded by the students who are doing the interviewing. All right, does all that make sense? I know that it's difficult because I'm going interviewer, interviewing, interviewees, and all that comes a little confusing. But if you know right now, most of you probably do. Do you want to be interviewed? Let me know. If you want to just interview somebody else, let me know. I mean, that's really the key, and each of these applies to one or the other. All right, that's pretty much all I wanted to explain. Does anybody have any questions?
I
Mhm.
oh sorry, you can go.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I I'm not sure if I missed this information, but if we're the interviewer, are we gonna know ahead of time who we will be interviewing, and will we have time to review their resume and their job description so that we know kind of get an idea of what the company is?
Ideally, yes, you will, because if I put my screen up again of the sign up folder, and again, it's going to say right here the name of the person being interviewed. I'll be typing their name into here. You also can scroll down to the bottom and notice I signed up to be interviewed. So you'll see anyone who signs up to do whatever in this folder. As you scroll down, you'll see everybody's response to that day and time. And then I will again type. You can't get access to this top page. So I will add the names as people sign up to the role they're going to play. And they're supposed to, as it says here, if I chose to be interviewed, then you must upload, please attach your resume cover letter. Well, here's the problem. They don't. So let's just say I signed up today just like I did. I said, I want to be interviewed, but notice I didn't attach any documents. So then you sign up behind me, Sarah, and you, Sarah Samaya, and you go, well, there's no documents for me to review. He wants to be interviewed, but I don't see any documents. Right? And this is where I come in, is I'm constantly after them. Hey, you must upload your resume. You must upload your cover letter. Please do it right away. And quite honestly, there's been a few times where they didn't do it until the day of the interview or even as the interview is starting. So what I do in that case is I will give the interviewers a few minutes to look over it and do their best at coming up with questions. And I don't fault you. I don't, I'm not as critical on you because you didn't have the time you needed to prepare. Ideally, though, in most cases, they do upload their documents at least a few days before, and you have a few days to kind of look at it.
Okay.
And you can constantly be going in to the folder where you signed up and seeing anyone else that's joined the interview and if anyone uploaded any documents yet. So, and you can also email me. I get students all the time. Oh, professor, I went to look at the paperwork for so and so, and they never uploaded it. And then I'm after them as well with emails and please upload your documents. So I wish there was a smoother way to do it, but there isn't. And sometimes they upload the assignment. Like let's just say I didn't put it here, but I uploaded the assignment, the resume, because that's an assignment. I uploaded the job search because that's an assignment. I uploaded the cover letter because that's an assignment. So I got them all uploaded. I just never attached them. Then I can actually download them myself and I can upload them for you instead. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So, I can go and download, so let's just say Brian signed up to be interviewed and he didn't put his documents, but he did submit his assignments. I can download all of his assignments and I can attach them here and you guys will all be able to see them. So,
Perfect. Thank
yeah.
you.
But there is a few bugs with it, and I'm still working it out, but we got through it pretty smoothly the last couple of times we did it, and it's been a positive experience for the students. So, all right, any other questions?
That covers everything. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're
That
welcome.
makes it a lot more like easier to have like an idea of what to do for this final. So thank you.
Yeah. Just be watching for the folders to open up. They should start probably mid next week as far as the dates. I'll have them open before then, but the first interview date will probably be like next Wednesday or next Thursday or something like that. And then that's when we'll start. So we'll probably do one on Thursday night. I'll probably do one on the weekend, either a Saturday or Sunday in the morning, and then I'll probably do another one on a Wednesday but I'll do five of them, five or maybe even six of them over the next 2 weeks so you can pick one that works best for you. Okay, so be watching for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome, you guys. Have a great day, and thanks for joining me.
You too.